Texting with you, Pookie.
Oh, of course.
Like we do all the time.
Of course. In the tournament, you're going to play golf or you're going to watch?
I'm going to watch. I mean, because the weather where I am for tomorrow has rain, and for Friday has high winds. So
that seats on my flight. 85 and sunny, baby.
I know.
Scottsdale, huh? It's Scottsdale National.
It's tempting. I'd like to play. Right. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, tournament picks, NBA tanking, and Tim Legler joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with last night's NCAA play-in games. In the first one, Alabama State scored off a Hail Mary pass with less than 1 second to go to beat St. Francis. In the second game, North Carolina responded to all the criticism leveled at its inclusion in the tournament by people like you, Wilbon, and pounded San Diego State 95-68. Wilbon, which was the more compelling result from last night, Carolina winning big or Alabama State winning dramatically?
Alabama State, they're Carolina. It doesn't matter who they can beat. You know they can beat people. They're North Carolina, and I don't want to hear it. They don't belong in the tournament. I love North Carolina. I feel really bad saying that because I know Hubert Davis and really respect him. As a coach and a former player, really. But don't tell me North Carolina belongs because they don't belong. Now I'm going to get calls from friends of mine.
I'm just going to tell you, you're going to hear from me. I got a text from North Carolina grad Curry Kirkpatrick the other night.
Goodness.
He's angry at you. He's angry at you.
I know. I got a lot of Carolina people angry at me who I know well. Now, Alabama State. So I wasn't watching it live.
Oh.
And the text I get says, if you want to be really angry as a Bears fan, this play is going to remind you exactly of that.
That's right. Jaden Daniels play.
And I get the clip. And there was one David Israel who texted me.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I got angry. I got angry all over again. It's the same play. It is. And it's so dramatic. That's March Madness.
Yeah.
Not Carolina winning some game by 60 that it shouldn't be in.
I'm going to get to Carolina unless the bell rings. But I'm going to start with this. I watched the last 4 minutes of this game. I landed on it. I got off the golf. I watched this. So St. Francis is down about 6 with a minute and a half to go. And in a period of time, they hit 2 threes and they tie the game. And then after that, they cannot hold on to the ball. They possess it, but they knock it out of bounds or somebody takes it away. And then this kid on the last play on the Hail Mary flings it the length of the court. It hits 2 or 3 different people, settles in the arms of an Alabama State guy who banks it in. It is unbelievable theater. It is elation and it is broken hearts. The only thing I'll say to you about Carolina is this. They must have heard you and everybody else, like the governor of West Virginia, saying, get out of the tournament.
I don't want to sue anybody.
I feel pretty good about this in this regard because I did sit here and say from the beginning, they should be in. They could beat 30 teams in the tournament. They go out 21-11 halfway through the first half. Then it's 33-13. Then it's 47-23.
I turned it off at 33-13.
They hit 14 threes, the most ever. You know, I'm just saying to you. I'm saying to you, they can do damage. Yeah. Do you remember when Syracuse was in a similar position as a bubble team, went to the 16? VCU, a play-in team.
North Carolina
VCU
State
went to the Final
in
Four.
1983.
So
they got in by the hair of their chinny chin chin and won the whole thing. I'm not saying Carolina, once they get in, can't play. I'm saying, come on now. Come on. You know.
Curry will text you directly.
You don't like the underdog.
Robbie Petty, your boy.
You think I haven't heard? You haven't heard from Robbie Petty? Think I haven't heard from him
You
yet?
wanted Indiana in. Hardly an underdog.
Not exactly.
40,000 people.
You know, they're closer to my people. The 64-team field tips off tomorrow, Tone.
Yeah.
We've already talked about who's in the tournament. Now it's time to talk about how we see the tournament playing out.
Yeah.
So, who do you feel most confident and least confident about?
I'm going to duck the question to a certain degree. Because I think the narrative of this tournament is the SEC. I think it is the results that the SEC puts up. They have 2 number 1s. They have Auburn and Florida. They have 2 number 2s, Tennessee and who's the other one? And Alabama. They got a number 3 Kentucky. They got a number 4 A&M, which means they got 6 of the first 60. It's an unbelievable array of teams. And now what are they going to do out there?
Okay, well, do you feel confident in the SEC team?
I have watched these teams. And by the way, if they don't get anybody in the Final Four, just go to spring football. Just leave us alone. Go to spring football. I've watched their top 4 teams a couple of times each.
Yeah.
They can all score, but none of them scores like Florida. Florida, Mike, is the best team I have seen all year, unless I just caught them at the best 2 games they played. They look like a juggernaut.
They do. They can put you in the mindset of a couple of other Florida teams that won.
With Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan went all the way. I don't have any great confidence in any single team.
Right.
I'm fascinated by this tournament because I really believe this, and I am not the opposite of prisoner of the moment. Usually, I think they're just more really good teams than ever in the tournament. Used to be, you'd look at it, there's 4 or 5 teams that could win. Now, I mean, it could be 12,
right?
14 teams that could win. I look at Auburn, as good as they've been, they lost 3 or 4.
Yeah.
3 of their last 4. Duke, and by the way, people don't mention Knipple enough. They go straight to Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag's hurt. He's limping. Suppose he tweaks that ankle. I don't know about that. I have a little bit of confidence because I picked them. In St. John's, all right, and Michigan State. Who am I betting on there? Rick Pitino and Tom Izzo. I'm looking at coaches who are great
March
jockeys.
belongs to Tom Izzo. I haven't been that impressed
and Houston
with
with Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking at those coaches and their ability in tight games.
So you're running away from the SEC.
I've done it all year,
but
so you got to prove it to me.
Yeah.
And they may prove it. They may make me look stupid. Florida, I love this Noah's Ark theme. They got 2 of everything because it looks true. It does.
They look really good to me. The one game I want to see early, and by the way, there are so many SEC teams in, you're going to get all SEC games in the second round. In the second round. I want to see, I am rooting, not against Kansas, but I'm rooting to see Calipari and Pitino in the second round.
You know what?
In the second round.
Like Bill Self, I root for him. I got Kansas going out in the first game.
Yeah, you got Calipari beaten. Let's move to the NBA and the subject of tanking. The Tankorama game of the entire season is tonight in Utah as the terrible Jazz play the woeful Wizards in a game where the loser may have the inside track on the #1 pick. The Wizards tanked the other night in Portland, and Utah might see tonight's game as an opportunity to tank as well. Oklahoma City, which does not tank, is nonetheless resting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tonight against the Sixers. Because of a 2020 trade, Oklahoma City owns Philly's first-round draft pick this year if the pick is number 7 or worse. So the Thunder has incentive to lose so that Philly will win, and Philly has incentive to lose so it will retain its own draft choice. Wilbon, should everyone play to lose tonight?
You know what, Tony? If Wembanyama, this was last year, I might say
you don't have Cooper Flag as Wembanyama.
I don't know that.
Wembanyama's generational.
And there's nothing to look at Cooper Flag this year about and say, oh, I doubt it. There just isn't. The kid has checked every box so far, but it doesn't mean that you're a dominant #1 player who's going to change a team's fortunes in the first or second season. It doesn't mean that. And so I don't know that they should lose. The Wizards, I'm interested. Because, look, I'm not going to lie. I'd love to be able to go down the street and see Cooper Flag for the next few years. I might buy tickets for that. But I don't know that. And the Wizards, even though you're killing them.
I am going to kill them.
Some of those guys are developing, Tony, at a rate that may say Alex Sarr.
Maybe.
That if you twin him with Cooper Flag, you might have something.
That's right. I'll give you that. But I said this yesterday. I'm going to say it again. The NBA should investigate the Washington Wizards for tanking that game against Portland. Their 2 best players, Poole and Middleton, played fewer than 11 minutes. They played no minutes in the second half. 2 other starters, Alex Sarr, who you love, right, and Keyshawn George, played about 20 minutes. The Wizards attempted to lose and succeeded at losing. Now, the only reason I bring this up, Mike, is because all sports now have gambling partners. Baseball does, football does, basketball does. So if the NBA is encouraging you to bet, they can't give you a boat race. They have to guarantee the integrity of the game, and they did not in that case. In this case tonight, it's going to look like a G League game.
Okay.
Nobody's going to try.
But you had 2 games like that the other night. Actually 3, because Philadelphia had no squad. Philadelphia may as well have had George McGinnis and Julius Erving playing, and they went to double overtime or whatever it was. Denver didn't have Joker or Jamal Murray, and they lost. And then Indiana didn't have their 6 top players,
They're not
and they won.
Right. They're not attempting to tank, though. Like tonight between Oklahoma City, because of this draft pick, and Oklahoma City wants Philly to win, and Philly wants to lose.
Yeah.
It's a time, Mike, when neither team has an incentive
should the
to
game
win.
be off the board?
Yes.
Well, then that's Vegas can take the game off the board.
This is a problem if neither team has any incentive to win. Oklahoma City doesn't
take
tank.
the game. No, they don't.
No, they're the head of their division.
They win if SGA's out in the few games he misses.
But you know what I'm saying?
You want the Wizard. You don't want to see this kid.
I do want to see him. Sure, I want to see him.
All right, he could be in a Wizards uniform if they lose.
Yeah, what if I moved to Arizona and he's playing in Phoenix? Let's take a break. Coming up, who should be the NBA MVP? Oh, no, my favorite
that's
question.
great.
We will ask it to Tim Legler.
You know the Suns could be in the lottery? You hit up on something there. We'll also ask him why he's concerned about the Knicks even after.
Fully healthy Jalen Brunson, if he's limited in any way, I don't even think you can match them on the other end. And so for me, that's why I think a successful end of the season is a tough, hard-fought series against the Boston Celtics in which they probably lose in 6 games.
Breaking your heart again, Tom.
Those things happen. Those things happen.
Yeah.
Tim Legler, thank you. Isn't he good?
Appreciate it.
How many years have we go back?
Thank you,
with
guys.
Legler?
30.
Let's go back a long time. At least. Tim is calling the Nuggets-Lakers game tonight at 10 Eastern. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Jalen Milroe puts up an impressive number at his pro day.
And was the best play of today's Dodgers win, you got to go there, turned in by a familiar-looking fan?
So the two people who were on with us and George Michael for the first time were Tim Legler and Stephen A. Smith.
That's right.
Both of them started with us. Happy time, people. Happy 67th birthday, Andy Reid. With Bill Belichick now in college, Reid is the winningest active NFL coach, 273 regular season wins. He's 4th all-time behind Don Shula, George Halas, and Belichick.
Wow.
Reid has 143 wins in just 12 seasons in Kansas City after having 130 wins in 14 seasons in Philadelphia. Reid made the Super Bowl in both places, but his 3 Super Bowl wins are in Kansas City. Reid's Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 seasons, so nobody, Wilbon, can call it a dynasty of one.
They've won a bunch.
With Belichick and Pete Carroll out last season, Reid was the NFL's oldest head coach. But with Carroll in Las Vegas now, Reid can feel like a young man.
Do you like seeing this funny side of Reid in the State Farm
In the commercials, I do.
You like that?
I always sort of liked Andy Reid.
Yeah, I do too. And
like
if you're in person after games, he'll give you a little needle.
Yeah,
he will.
He's all right. He's all right. Happy anniversary, Butler. On this day 14 years ago, on the way to an upset over number 1 seed Pitt, the Bulldogs' Andrew Smith gave 8 seed Butler the lead with 2.2 seconds left. Then inexplicably, Butler's Shelvin Mack ran into Pitt's Gilbert Brown just before Brown tried a half-court desperation heat. Brown made the first free throw to tie the game but missed the second. Butler's Matt Howard got the rebound and was fouled even more inexplicably by Nasir Robinson with 0.8 seconds left. Howard made the winning free throw. Butler went on to the national final, losing there to UConn 53-41. The year before, Butler also made the final game, losing to Duke when Gordon Hayward's heave hit the back rim.
Tony, I got to say, we missed the anniversary yesterday, March 18, 1968, I guess it was. Wilt, 53 points, 32 boards, 14 assists, 24 blocks, and 11 steals.
What?
You like that?
24 block. Take that, Jokic.
Give me that. You know what that's better than? That's better than 15, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5.
Happy trails to another game for your Cubs. The Dodgers finished the 2-game sweep in Japan with a 6-3 win. Heralded pickup Roki Sasaki started for the Dodgers. His first 4 pitches topped 100 miles an hour. In all, the 23-year-old pitched 3 innings, allowing 1 earned, striking out 3, though walking 5. Shohei homered in the 5th on a ball that hit the hands of a fan in right, but the smoothest play of the game may have been made by a familiar-looking fan down the left field line, former quarterback Rodney Peete pulling a Bartman on Max Muncy.
No, he was inside his own frame, if you extend that, like the pylon. But we're not going to do this with the Cubs every day.
No.
It's March.
Yeah,
I don't even acknowledge these games. It's March.
Well, other people do because they're 0-2. Big finish. Here we go. The Packers officially filed their proposal to ban the tush push. You like its chances?
I don't like having this happen, but it may happen. There could be some momentum against the tush push in the league. The NFL Network reports the Vikings are done pursuing Aaron Rodgers at this time. Your reaction to that?
I don't know where Rodgers is going, but I'm so tired of waiting.
Yeah.
Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe ran a 4.37 40. Woo, that's significant.
He's like a freight train.
Yeah.
6'2", 220, elbows and knees. He really is. Gary Bettman confirmed the NHL isn't committed to next year's All-Star game. You're not surprised, though.
I want them to do that four nations thing or just the two nations thing.
Yeah.
Count the United States best of three.
Sure.
Last one. 2 more playing games tonight. Who you got?
You know what? I got American University. That's what I care about.
Local for us.
You and I
Local.
have spent some time seeing American University.
When
all the way
Gary
back to Gary
coached.
Williams,
When Gary was coaching.
Eddie Tapscott coaching.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
Aldridge is going to
In studio.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Jalen Brunson returns from injury. There's
My
something
thing on
gonna be
Cooper
in line.
Flagg is different than yours. I think he's too young. I think take another year in college. You're 18. You're playing against men next year.
Pardon the interruption.
Thanks.
Over Zoom or some of that nonsense. Let's start with this. You're calling the Nuggets and the Lakers tonight. How are you analyzing this stretch of LeBron-less games for LA, games he hasn't played? What do they look like to you without him?
They're starting to look a lot better than they did initially, and it's primarily because it's related to Luka's efficiency. You know, his game is predicated on being able to make you fear him from the three-point line. It's very important. And when he first got there, he could not make a three-point shot. It changes the way you play him. It changes your ability to have to help on him in the paint, which sets up the lobs. It sets up the corner kick-out threes. If you're daring him to take that shot because you know he's not in rhythm, they're a different team to guard. He is now he didn't shoot well last game. He was 1 for 7 from the three, but he took it from 24% from the three in February when he first got there over a handful of games, 42% in March prior to the last game. So for me, you can see the legs are starting to get there under him. The efficiency is starting to come back with him. It's setting up his ability to dictate and control possessions offensively. So for me, that's really what this is about. Their defense has been very, very good for quite a long time. I think they're third in the league over the last 15 games. They've answered that question for me. They know how to protect Luka defensively. JJ Redick deserves a lot of credit for that. So the big question is, how long was it going to take Luka to start to look like Luka offensively with the way he can control you? And that is there now. So for me, that's a very positive sign. And then, by the way, last thing, Austin Reeves, how many number 3 players on a team in this league are you going to take ahead of Austin Reeves right now, the way he is playing? It's really remarkable what this guy is doing on a nightly basis offensively and the way he is dominating defenses. He's broken through the ceiling in what I thought he could be as a player. So that's another great sign for the Lakers.
All right, I'm going to annoy Tony now, Tim. Really annoy him by getting to a question he says we start asking in October and we don't stop asking until June. Who you got for MVP since we're going to see Joker, of course, tonight? You got Jokic or you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now? If you had to turn in your ballot tonight, who would it be?
Yeah, well, Michael, I think actually, if I recall, I think October 22nd, opening night, somebody had a big game and I was asked who's the front runner. So I know what Tony's talking about. We start a little bit too early with this stuff. I agree. Now, look, I don't necessarily think 12, 13 games to go is too early. But here's what I'm going to tell you. All of the years I've known you two, all of the TV I've done with you, the conversations I've had with you, I legitimately do not think you could have ever asked me a more difficult question than who is the MVP of this league. And that for that reason, and I have a vote, I am withholding my thought on this till the end. You know why? There are still more big moments to be played for both of these teams. Oklahoma City is trying to secure home court advantage throughout the finals. They're deadlocked with the Cleveland Cavaliers for that. Obviously, Denver could be 2, they could be 5. That's a big difference in the West. There are still so many more big moments to come. I'm going to wait. So what it comes down to is this. The statistical dominance has to be there. Obviously, it is. Both guys. It's historic with Shai. It's incredible what this guy has done with his consistency, and he's sprinting through the wire. He's getting stronger as the year goes. It's the statistical dominance versus team success. How do you weigh those two things? Oklahoma City has a 12.5 game lead over everybody in the West. That is going to figure heavily for some voters, and I don't blame them. I could make a great argument for either guy. They're both deserving. I'm going to wait and let this play out.
You are concerned about the Knicks even after Jalen Brunson returns. What is your concern?
Well, the first one is with Jalen Brunson specifically. You know, when you land out of the air on someone's foot, it's a lot different than when you're dribbling a basketball and you step on someone's foot when your other leg is already on the ground. The amount of force you're generating when you're coming out of the air. When I saw him turn it that night, I said, this is going to be weeks before we see Jalen Brunson because it looked that bad. So he's going to come back. He's going to be bothered by that the rest of the year, in my opinion. And to the extent that, hey, guy like Jalen Brunson, if you take even 10% less quickness from him, that makes him more guardable by more guys. And it's just a different feel he's going to have the rest of the way. So him, it starts with him. But also, I just think defensively, they haven't convinced me that that's going to be enough against the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And what else matters? I'm not judging the Knicks by the Bucks, the Pacers, the Pistons if they get them in the first round. Their measuring stick is Cleveland and Boston. And those two teams are prolific offensive teams. And I don't know that the Knicks are going to be good enough at the point of attack with their ball screen defense, no matter what Hart and Anunoby do and Bridges. That part of it is not going to be good enough to slow those teams down with a.
It's not good. He was old school player of the year, R.J. Davis, knocking down jumpers, talking a little smack, being aggressive, getting downhill. And then defensively, I thought Carolina was not good, terrific. They're going to have to guard the ball. They're going to have to compete offensively against Ole Miss. But the matchup in terms of personnel is really in Carolina's favor.
You mentioned vintage R.J. Davis. He had to remind people he has 2,684 career points.
And counting.
That's third most in ACC history. He's been there for a minute, but you think about the great players that have played in the ACC. Of course, we've got our last first four games tonight. I want to focus in on that Xavier-Texas game. What do you like in that one?
I actually like Xavier in this game, and it's because of their offense. They do a great job playing with pace and spacing. They attack the basket. They really share the ball. David McKnight, really a dynamic guard, gets downhill, an elite defender, and you need to have an elite defender, obviously, to guard Trey Johnson. But then on the wing, Ryan Conwell, a big time, not a good three-point shooter, a 40-plus three-point shooter. They do a good job of freeing him up, getting him open shots in flow, in transition, on ball movement and people movement. And then Zach Freemantle, he's a matchup problem. A 6'11 guy that can step out and shoot the three. You can run him down to the block. He can play out of double teams. I like the pace, the spacing, and the confidence offensively that Xavier plays with. Now, look, they're going to have to guard Trey Johnson. They're going to have to set their defense and rebound the ball. But I like Xavier in this game.
Yeah, you know what? We always love these stories of like redemption, and Xavier looking for that. They have the second most NCAA tournament appearances without a Final Four. We'll see if they can change.
Now, way to go, negative town. I mean, how about them? They were 1-9 against Quad 1, and you know what? They get the same chance that North Carolina had.
You know what? Let's
uplift people. Uplift people.
Perfect. I'm glad you said that. You didn't mention how great my hair looked. You just talked about the Nets.
I missed.
Okay, there it is. Listen, hopefully Coach just gave you some tips on how to fill out your bracket, over 18 million and counting. All you have to do is download the ESPN app, get started, create a group, invite your friends, get ready for the madness with the #1 bracket game. And remember, they're going to lock in tomorrow for the men and on Thursday for the women, so get to it. For much more on the tournament, Friday for the women. For much more, here's Tony and Mike with PTI's bonus segment.
All right, Wilbon, what NCAA tournament storyline intrigues you the most?
Tony, this is a tournament where I've got 3, 4, 5 teams I'm locked onto, which is usually the case. And some of it has to do with where I'm from. It might be Big Ten teams or teams from Chicago, like when Loyola Chicago's in, even though that's sort of a rival. I don't have that. I got St. John's. I'm rooting for St. John's. I just like the way they play, that Rick Pitino, somebody we know and have followed for forever, has this team. I'm going to go off book for you for a second because I'm looking at the women's NCAA tournament, the bracket and the stars. And you got UConn versus South Carolina, the rematch I want to see for the national championship game, April 6th. I mean, I want to see that. And then the list of stars, including partial list, Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, Kiki Rice, Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, Haley Van Lith, Flau'jae Johnson. I know who they are. Right. They're not ones and dones. I've been watching some of these women for 3-4 years. Right. I'm excited to see them play, in some cases, each other much more than I am the men's side.
That's fine, but I'll talk about the men here. I'll talk about the men. And the most important story, the single narrative to me, is the SEC and how well the SEC is going to do. They have 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, a 3 and a 4. They got 6 teams of the top 16. Now, Do they bust? Do they get no teams in the Final Four and go straight to spring games and college football? Or do they maybe become the first conference ever to get four? Nobody's ever done that. They're in position to get four. So I want to see, in terms of storyline, how that plays out. And much like you, I am concerned with and looking at Rick Pitino. He is, at the moment, if I'm correct, the only person who's ever won NCAA championships at two different schools. He would be the only person ever. This would be Johnny Vandermeer. If he actually won this and got and became the first person ever to three.
For Rick Pitino, that's a mic drop. It is. It is. You just walk straight out of the arena with your arms up and bathe in the adoration. Is that right?
That's true.
That's it. We're done. Back to you.